Hello everybody and welcome back. I'm Dash Brandon. I'm making sure I'm getting my camera right there. I think it's good enough right now. Today, perk rerolls came out and it introduced quite a few new items to the game. We now have the reperk resource. We have perk ups, which come in green, blue, purple, and legendary gold. And I think that's pretty much it for the new items. What is important about this is it lets you reroll any of your schematics. Any legacy schematics will be rerolled to fit new weapon standards that Epic has designed. So previously I had all ass siege breakers, and I actually made a mistake here. At least I view it as a mistake. So if you go to Upgrade Inspect, click on Upgrade, go to Modify Perks. This is where you will see your perks. This is one that has already been rerolled. So you can see that there's different rarities here for each and every one of these. And you can upgrade that. So if I click on that, I can upgrade my Siege Breaker's damage. We're going to go ahead and do that right now. I was grinding a few of these materials earlier today, and now that I upgraded it to blue, it now needs the purple resource. Which I have just made another mistake because I don't like this Siege Breaker as much as one that I could have had. So in your first slot you have the potential for most weapons to get damage, critical rating, critical damage, or fire rate. In the second slot you get mag size, durability, reload, or stability. In your third slot is usually where you pick up your element. So you get water, energy, fire, nature, or a new one which is physical. Haven't really talked too much about physical damage yet. I'm waiting for White Sushi to get on that. Come on, White Sushi. I think that if you're gonna do physical damage, that with that 32% damage, you might come closer to being like an energy type weapon. As far as damage goes, and you might get pretty close, or you might even get better. A lot of traps are also rolling with physical, but we'll get to that in a minute. For the fourth slot, you get damage, critical rating, critical damage, or headshot damage. Headshot damage has been changed so it's multiplicative, which means that it's a lot better than it was before. So you could do a headshot damage with some crit, you could do headshot with just straight damage. As long as you're landing those headshots, you're going to be alright. I personally have been going for magazine size because I want to see how that feels to have well over 50 rounds in the magazine. I'm only at blue 50% right now on this Siege Breaker, and I already have 45 rounds in my magazine. So I will get over 50 by the time I max that out. The fifth slot is your conditional slot. So right now I picked this one because usually your fifth and your sixth should be working together. But I got getting 5 headshots in a row increases range damage by 30% for 10 seconds, which I thought would be pretty good. But then nothing else fit here, or nothing else seemed to fit here, except for damage to miss monsters and bosses. So one downside of that, of getting this roll, is that you pretty much have to go into miss monsters and bosses, which means that you're probably missing out on some damage here. I'll show you a razor blade that I did earlier as well. Go to upgrade, go to modify. So it has, I went ahead and took this as far as we could go just to see what the legendary looked like. So legendary, you get 36% to miss monsters and bosses, or you get 45% damage to conditional things. So I have a condition to snare the target, so I'm going to do 45% more damage with this razor blade pretty much all the time because it can snare him. I also went with double damage rolls again, magazine size, and this is my new nature weapon. One thing that they did when they did this, when they did the new perks, is now affliction rolls into this sixth slot. So that's where you're going to get your affliction for most weapons, except for special ones, such as if I were to do my dragon's roar. Where'd that thing go? There it is. So this one has not been modified yet. So when I go here, you'll see these are what my perks currently are: crit chance, damage to slowed and snared, crit damage, snares them, and damage. And this is what I would get if I changed it over. So the fire element that is innate on these Dragon Roar weapons actually shows up as a perk now. You can upgrade that damage to get plus 10, 20. I think it goes up to 20% damage. And then the crit chance gets converted to crit rating, which is another new change here. Crit rating will suffer from diminishing returns. So that means the more crit rating you have, the less crit chance percent you're going to get per point of crit rating. People that played WoW would be familiar with this. Diminishing returns is a very common game rule that a lot of games operate on. So for me personally, any weapons I have that have high crit chance that I would like to keep in a build that depends on crit chance and crit damage, such as the Pistol Outlander. God, I can't think of his name right now. And jeez, I can't think of things. Your Ted Shot Jess, if you're using snipers, even though you don't have to. I never made a video on it because I thought it was pretty well understood by most of the community that Ted Shot Jess is not a sniper. She only has one sniper-specific perk. It's kind of dumb. But back to this. So, damage to slowed and snared gets moved to the bottom. Crit damage gets moved. 20% damage gets taken away. So that 20% damage would normally roll up here. So I do have a Dragon's Roar that I did not level up so that we could take a look at what that would look like if we were to modify it. So we're going to get a free slot here, and this free slot is because crit chance can't move here, and crit damage to afflicted, maybe that's what it was that got taken away. Headshot eliminations cause an explosion. That's probably one of the least desirable perks that you could get in that last slot there. Damage moves down, magazine size moves down, fire comes here, which is why we don't get crit chance. Yeah, because the crit damage goes here. That crit damage is taking over that crit chance. So we're going to go ahead and convert it just for fun, just to see. So we actually can't do anything with this fire element. This Dragon's Roar will always remain fire element. The damage and all of these things apply for the second, which is weird because we were used to seeing magazine size there. So it looks like they just moved that up, took away the water and physical and all of that type of stuff, and then moved everything else down. Yeah, that's pretty much what they did. They just moved the third one up and moved everything else down. So that's kind of what happened there. This free slot, so when you convert it, if you get a free slot, you basically get to choose what goes here. Miss Monsters and Bosses is the only thing that fits because it does this explosion stupid thing. I suppose some people could like it, but I don't. So that's what happens there. We're going to take a look at some traps now. So I've got a few gas traps here that we can look at. So if we were to modify one of these, durability goes away, becomes a free slot at the bottom there. Crit chance goes to crit rating, damage to damage. Reload moved down, and crit chance got converted to crit rating right here. Also against physical damage and does plus 32% damage. I don't know if that like actually affects it a lot. We could look. It's got 45 damage. Convert. Oh, so it does affect it quite a bit because it goes up to 59 at level 1. Crit rating. So in this slot you can either keep your crit rating or you can go for damage or durability. In your third slot you can take damage, durability, crit damage, or reload. So you can still get 2 reloads on your trap, so that's good. You can do crit rating, damage, or durability. So if I were to like start re-rolling this how I would probably want it, I would probably take double damage, or I would take damage for the first slot. For the second slot, I would take reload. For the third slot, I would take damage. For the fourth slot, I would take reload. Yeah. And then for the last slot, they introduced a few different things here. This is the first time I've seen effect duration, probably because I'm looking at a gas trap for the first time. The other things that they've introduced is healing whatever building it's attached to by percentage of its max health for every 10 seconds, more durability, or 11% increased building health. Really, I don't see a reason to not take durability here. Maybe you would want 20% increased effect, but that would only apply to the dot, which, I don't know. You could play around with that, see what feels good, because you could always re-roll it later if you decide you don't like it. But I'm going to go ahead and take durability right now. I think the only time that you would want to take one of the health-based ones is if you were doing wall spikes. So I have wall spikes here. I've been sitting on them for a while. I haven't upgraded them at all. So we're going to do them. So we got durability that becomes a free slot. We've got crit chance that becomes critical rating. We've got critical damage that goes to critical damage. We've got durability that becomes another free slot. And then we have 15% damage. It gains physical plus 32% damage, taking it from 81 at level 1 to 106. And I gotta tell you, if you're farming like low level stuff, like probably the tier below you. So if you're in Twine and you're farming stuff in Canny, wall spikes actually come in handy. A smasher will kill itself on wall spikes. It's kind of hilarious. And then you can throw in this thing here where you heal 3.2% of its max health every 10 seconds. Then you pair that with power modulation, and all of a sudden it's healing 15% of its health probably. I think power modulation's 10. Is it 10? I want to say it's 10. I'm probably wrong. But throw in power modulation on top of that, and all of a sudden you're doing a heck of a lot of healing on that piece. Critical rating, critical damage. If we were to reroll these, it costs 1,000 reperk to reroll something. So that's why you kind of want a lot of free slots when you're doing this on something that you're looking at, or you want it to be something that you know it already is going to end up with what you want. So I would keep this damage. I think eventually I'll reroll the crit damage to damage. I'll reroll the crit rating to damage. And for this last slot, I'll go ahead and take a blue damage. So it's going to be doing a bunch of damage when it reflects all that damage back at a smasher or whatever's attacking it. Just smasher is just what I use for the example. So that's going to turn out pretty cool. One other cool thing I would like to show you is that if you decide you want to re-roll something and you've already upgraded it to legendary, it stays legendary. I love that. And it costs the same. So it's going to be a bit of a grind to max out all your stuff, especially if you're like me and you want to max out a lot of stuff. It's going to be a bit of a grind, but hopefully you've already come to terms with that. I do really like this system that they have here. I'm okay with grinding for it, and I really, really hope that they only make it better. Like Epic has been nailing it lately with this game. I kind of want to see what would happen to this. So this is a high crit chance weapon. We're talking, it's got 35%, 45% with the, they also increased base critical hit chance for all ranged weapons by another 5%, I believe. So if it had 10, it ended up at 15. If it had 5, it ended up at 10. So we have 45% crit hit chance, double damage rolls, and mag size. If we were to modify this, we would lose a bunch of critical chance. We would keep 1 damage roll, the magazine roll, and the energy element would show up here, be 10% damage. That's more or less equal to upgrading this damage here. Well, it's more or less this 20% damage if you upgraded this. So, and it gains affliction. So then we can also grab damage to afflicted here. So, as far as a critical weapon would go, it would be worse. But as far as a constant damage and constant rate of fire type of weapon, I think would actually turn out pretty good. So, these are some of the things you want to think about before you reroll your weapon. Before you even convert it from Legacy over. Like my Deathstalker here, this used to be my best nature weapon. That's pretty sad. It's got a damage roll, and that's really the only thing helping it. Like, stability and fire rate are okay, but durability roll, we're gonna get rid of this thing right now just because I hate it. I just hate it. These two swap spots. Nature comes up here. Affliction ends up down here. And stability and fire rate become free slots. So, I feel like I would put a lot of weapons kind of the same. So if I wanted to change up this durability, I would probably, like, I've been doing a lot of mag size. This weapon has such a small magazine size. It's got 15 and fires in a burst of 3. So you need to reload it when it's done with those bursts of 3. So I think that I would actually consider putting reload on it, excuse me. For the free slots, I've gotten pretty good at nailing headshots with it. I don't know. Affliction, you're gonna take damage to affliction every time. You want to match this 5th perk with your 6th if you can. And then let's see. Fuck it, let's go headshot damage. It's supposed to be good now. We'll give it a shot. It can't be worse than fire rate, stability, and durability, and well, it's still got durability, but all the other shit we had before can't be any worse than that. So one thing that does not happen when you do this is it does not change any of the items in your bag, so that will be the last time that you're able to use those legacy items. Yeah, that's really all I've got to say, other than, like, I really love this. Oh, event weapons. I didn't go over event weapons. So I've got a Sunbeam Gravedigger here, right? So if I were to modify it, its crit chance goes to critical rating. I would imagine that it stays near-ish the same. Damage to afflicted goes here. Crit damage goes there. Damage comes down here, and then it splits the fire and affliction. So I'm gonna do it, but mostly because I think that if you upgrade this critical rating, we'll be able to get that critical chance back. And if you upgrade everything else, it'll just be an improvement. Yeah, let's do it. We did it. I don't know why. We can improve all of that now. Critical rating. So we lost 1.5% by going from 14% crit chance to 10 critical rating, but I think that we'll be able to gain that back when we upgrade that. So, in essence, most weapons just get better. What is making that sound? I don't know what's making that sound. It's driving me insane now. Alright. I'll see you guys next time. I'm Dash Brandon. Everything is amazing. Make sure that you pay very good attention, because like I said, I would rather have had this other siege breaker down here. This was the one, I believe. Now that I'm looking at things and I'm understanding it better, I think I would have liked this better, because I could reroll the damage to afflicted to damage to snared. Could have had damage mag size, rerolled this fire rate to damage, and then I could have made that the water that I had before on my other one. So I think I might do that eventually, but I got a whole lot of leveling up to do. Whole lot. So I will catch you guys next time. I'm going to start grinding that. I'm Dash Brandon. Subscribe if you liked it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.